You might lose a connection simply because you failed to define it in the first place. When friendships fall apart, people often blame things like lack of reciprocation, entitlement, betrayal, or jealousy. But in many cases, these problems come from a deeper issue: the inability to clearly define what the relationship actually was from the beginning. This root problem usually shows up in cherry forms: unrealistic expectations, lack of boundaries, and situations where people feel they are being taken advantage of. To illustrate this, imagine two people who share a healthy connection. One day, one offers financial help. For the giver, it was simply a one-time act of kindness. But the receiver interprets it differently. He now believes he has someone he can rely on financially, even though there was no prior history of that kind of support or conversation about whether the giver was willing or is able to take on that responsibility. Over time, the giver begins to see the receiver as entitled, while the receiver feels unfairly treated. This is what happens when a connection lacks clarity about expectations. Here is another scenario. Two people share a healthy connection. One sees the relationship as a bonded friendship, while the other sees it as a casual acquaintance with certain limits, especially when it comes to communication. Because this difference was never clarified, one person starts reaching out at odd hours or making video calls, while the other begins to feel the need to set boundaries. This is another example of how undefined connections can lead to boundary issues. The third scenario also involves two individuals who share a healthy connection, but for different reasons. One sees it as a connection-based friendship, while the other views it as a bonded friendship. Because of this misunderstanding, the more invested individual begins to spend time and money to sustain the connection, believing they share a deeper bond than they actually do. Eventually, a moment comes when he seeks time or financial support in return, but the other person is reluctant to reciprocate. This is how an undefined connection can leave someone feeling used and eventually lead to resentment. There are many other relatable examples: begging wishes or gifts, interactions between business owners and their customers, business partnerships, friendships involving loans, or even romantic or sexual connections. So the next time you find yourself on the brink of losing a connection, ask yourself one question: was the connection clearly defined by both parties from the beginning?